What's going on in this town?
So I'd like to preface this video by just apologising that I'm just getting over some kind of horrible 24-hour cold flu thing, so my nose is all kinds of bunged up, so yeah, I'm not putting on a silly voice, this is literally how I sound at the moment. Anyway, let's get right to it. So we're 24 hours away from the release of the Resident Evil 2 remake, which looks bloody good so far. Well, mostly good. This game has been hotly requested from fans ever since the brilliant Resident Evil remake on the GameCube. Honestly, I was skeptical, but having played 7 and seen plenty of footage for this new version of 2, I'm all kinds of excited. Resident Evil 2 is one of my all-time favourite games, so please don't suck. Leading up to its release, I'd originally planned on looking at the original PS1 titles from way back in the day, but thanks to Albert effing Wesker, check him out if you haven't already, I discovered a couple of Resident Evil 2 mods. While most usually reskin the main game, a couple were creative enough to at least change the plot and flow of the game, such as Mortal Night, but the one mod that really stood out to me was Resident Evil 2 Destiny, created by Pixel Avenger 1. Now, there are a few reasons for why this stood out to me. Number 1. The mod contains a brand new story created by the designer himself. Whilst it takes place during Resident Evil 2, the character has his own issues to deal with and gets caught up in something completely different whilst trying to escape. Number 2. There are brand new pre-rendered backgrounds created specifically for the mod. That's impressive in its own right. Number 3. Brand new cutscenes. Sure, they're very rough around the edges and use the in-game models, but they work and actually feel right at home. I remind you, this is one person that made this. If you were expecting pre-rendered cutscenes similar to the original game, then you need a serious reality check. You play as new protagonist, Vonda? No, it has to be Vanda. A member of Umbrella's lab security who awakens in the same lab the main characters encounter in Resident Evil 2. A zombified colleague attacks him and in the struggle dies as he knocks Vanda unconscious. Our hero awakens sometime later, what I assume means he misses the majority of the chaos, the lucky bastard, and most likely has one hell of a concussion. And that's your setup. Nice, simple and to the point. You're not playing this mod if you're not already a fan of the series, so there's no real reason to hold your hand and explain the outbreak all over again. Along the way you encounter a familiar character as well as 2 brand new ones that you must assist in an escape with some nice nods towards Resident Evil 7. It controls as you would expect, and the gameplay has been completely untouched, which is a massive positive. The standard arsenal of weapons from 2 are here, although the modified pistol has been reskinned to an Uzi, the combat shotgun looks much better, and the submachine gun now looks like a proper assault rifle with a nice model to boot. There is one new weapon, however, and that's the hunting bow. Now, while I admit it's essentially a reskinned crossbow, Pixel Avenger has gone one step further and created new animations for it as well. It looks awesome as well, and that's a massive bonus. There are also new documents and notes to find created solely for this mod. This allows it to essentially find its own identity. The writing isn't that bad either and feels right at home with the rest of the series. One major problem for me though is the ammo. Now, I know that sounds silly considering this is a survival horror game, but the Resident Evil series has always balanced everything perfectly in that regard. Unless you are actively wasting ammunition or forget to pick up the grenade launcher as Claire, then you should have just enough ammunition to get through the game. The game was particularly careful to give you enough for boss fights as well. Destiny, on the other hand, just feels very light in that area and will have you panicking like mad. Problem is, it's not like 2 or even 3 where there are just a few zombies you could bypass easily if you're skillful enough. One area that you have to visit if you want the very best ending requires you to basically kill every zombie in attendance. The hallways are too narrow to move around all of them and you'll die in no time at all. More likely than not, you'll find yourself inputting the unlimited ammo button combination just so you can get through certain locations. Albert effing Wesker did it and hell even I did it. Not to mention the first enemy you fight in the game is the G-Mutant, and if for some bizarre reason you don't know, the G-Mutant is the first boss fight in Resident Evil 2, which means that nice new weapon and its ammunition you pick up is almost gone by the time you kill it. Unless you play on easy mode, but that's listed as error for some reason. It's not a deal breaker, but I do think some balancing is required in future versions. There are a total of 3 endings to the game, at least I think there's 3, maybe there's more, I don't know, and these are not signposted in any way, shape or form, and I kinda like that. Those chess pieces you've been collecting, well, you're gonna need all 4 of them or there's 0 chance of getting the best ending. And to make matters worse, one of them is in the very first room of the game. If you don't examine our zombified friend here at least 3 times, then you don't get the item and can't go back once you leave the compound, which is brutal. Unfortunately, I have to admit that getting the absolute best ending in the game is a little bit, well, it's a bit naff. You need to obtain the antidote and then head back to one of the previous areas in the game to fight and kill Mr. X, sans silly hat and all. If you don't do this, then he will always kill Beverly whether you cure her mother or not. Now, I wouldn't mind so much, but there is absolutely no reason to return to this area, and with the lack of ammo on the normal setting, you might have a considerably difficult time taking out the tyrant, which is a little frustrating. Another frustrating aspect is the save function. What's nice though is instead of using ink ribbons, you have these nifty little USB sticks instead. Unfortunately, the version of the game I played had a bug that would either not register the save file or just outright delete it immediately. So if you die, you have to start right back at the beginning of the game again, which is fine enough. I still have some of the skill from back in the day in terms of dodging enemies, but what I don't have is the skill to stop the game from crashing, which happened twice. A fix has gone up, but it involves creating an ISO image and I couldn't get it to work right, which could very much be my problem, as I'm not exactly well versed in creating and using ISOs. I'm a bit of an amateur in that department. Yes, let the hate flood towards me. Still, I can't hate on it too much. It has a few small issues, but it's a solid and fun little experience. The guy has really put a lot of love and care into creating this, and honestly, he's done an exceptional job. There's a nice nostalgic feeling in booting up a classic Resident Evil experience that's made in this style. So much care and precision has gone into creating the brand new areas for the game, and it deserves your attention. You can find a download link in the description. Now, that's not the end of the video, as I wanted to quickly show you another fan-made game set in the Resident Evil universe. This is Resident Evil Crossfire by developer 3DUU, or is it 3DO? Built with whole new graphical assets and using animation from the superb Resident Evil Remake, the game sees you playing, initially, as a member of the UBCS called Paul, as he, surprisingly, isn't stuck in Raccoon City, but a different location that is also suffering from its own outbreak. The helicopter is on board of crashes, leaving only 2 survivors. Paul and Sunglasses over here. So he heads out into the city to find any survivors and get the hell out of this place. Well, basically along those lines. The game looks decent enough considering it's free and not yet finished, with decent character models and 3D environments. No pre-rendered backdrops, I'm afraid. But the character menu screen has been lovely recreated, and normally I'd say the dialogue was a little bit off, but in all fairness, the Resident Evil series isn't exactly known for its 5-star scripts, is it? Plus, I don't believe the developer's first language is English, so I think that deserves a pass. As you'd expect, you run around the city finding documents and notes, ammunition, health items, keys and puzzle pieces, all while fighting back the undead and other mutated nasties. It manages to somewhat capture the essence and feel of classic Resident Evil, it just needs a little bit of refining and some polish. Now, if there was one thing that really bugged me about this, it was that some environmental items, such as cola cans, looked almost identical to pistol ammunition, and I would often find myself fidgeting around thinking I wasn't in the correct position to pick it up, just mashing the use button. Joke's on me, I suppose. But you think I'd realise already, wouldn't you, considering that item pickups flash or glow? Unfortunately, the latest version of Crossfire continually crashed while I was playing it, something I don't remember happening in previous iterations. Now, maybe it strongly disliked the recording software I was using, and I hope that's the case, as it's great to see him play these original fan-made Resident Evil titles that come really close to capturing the classic series feel. Crossfire can be found on GameJolt, but I've put the download link in the description as well. Look, try these games out, they definitely deserve your attention, and hopefully you won't experience the same crashing issues with Crossfire that I did. But what do you think? Have you played them both already? Do you agree? Do you disagree? And would you like to see me cover more Resident Evil mods on this channel? Comment below and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to hear more of my sexy, bunged up, diseased voice. Ugh. Catch you later.